The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice.
Hey, it's Nikki. Thrilled to hand the mic over to our friends at TestRx MD. You might remember David and me sharing our pretty in-depth health journey last year, from a devastating diagnosis to our taking health by the driver's seat. We chose to partner A to B first with the health professionals that have helped us most. Collectively, David and I, we lost over 60 pounds, and so many other aspects of our health have us feeling more lively and confident these days. So look, we're on a learning journey with you, and we know you agree. Health is so crucial to our ability to live our best lives. P.S. Don't wait to hit this team up at TestRxMD for a free concierge coaching call. There's a link in the show notes, or feel free to ask us. But this action could be the start of a whole new you. It was for us. So I'm passing the mic to our partners at TestRxMD.
Hey guys, welcome back to Activate Your Best Health. Today, we're going to be discussing your microbiome in your gut. We'll have Dr. Saddoris highlight what it actually is and why it's so important. So let's just get straight into it. What exactly is your microbiome in your gut? Otherwise, your gut microbiome is the other way that people say that. And we'll look at this from a medical standpoint. So what is that exactly, Dr. Saddoris?
Yes, well, the gut microbiome, a lot of people don't realize that sometimes the oral part is part of the gut too. And so a lot of times when you get plaque, you get all of these different types of bacteria, fungus, parasites, viruses there, and it makes it very difficult to penetrate through the plaque to get rid of it. And so sometimes in the process of trying to detoxify, a lot of these toxins that are released when you're killed can store into the body's fat. And so that's why as you start losing belly fat, sometimes you can continue having some symptoms of that detox. And I'll explain a little bit further. But these bacteria and different viruses and fungi, when they start dying, they release a lot of chemicals in your system that make you feel very ill in the process.
I mean, it is pretty incredible, like how a lot of, like, even just something as simple as bacteria can have such a huge effect on someone's body and absorption rates of different things. And there's a lot that goes into that. So let's get into like why your gut microbiome is so important.
Yes, I mean, we don't realize that if you have a healthy gut microbiome, it helps improve your energy level, it helps improve your metabolism, your immune system's working fine. You know, our biggest problem is that we have a lot of chemicals in our food, and a lot of these chemicals have a very detrimental effect on our system. Sugar, saturated fats also contribute to very poor gut health. And so what we start developing is high cholesterol, weight gain, diabetes, immune problems, and such as increased cancer risk. All of these can be associated with how your gut is metabolizing, absorbing important nutrients. If you can't absorb the minerals that you need for your cells to function, how do you think you're going to feel? You're going to feel tired, fatigued, but also mentally feel like you're in a fog times. Focus, concentration's affected. So it has a lot of effects on your body that you're just unaware that it's actually happening to you. You just think this is you, and not realize you could be a better you, right?
Yeah, that's pretty powerful in its own right there, because you just think it, like you were saying, like it is just you, and you don't even realize like how much better you could feel or how much more energy you could have. And maybe it's not even just a hormonal problem. It could be, of course, but maybe it's your gut microbiome. So people always think if it's low energy or energy issues that it's just hormonal. Well, that is one checkbox there, but there are other factors, including your gut microbiome, which is pretty cool. And Leslie has pretty incredible knowledge in this space with all his coaching experience and all the athletes that he sees in the gym. You can sometimes see athletes put all this work in the gym, they're doing all this hard work, but then if they're not feeding their actual body properly, that work doesn't really help you as much as it could. So it's pretty important to understand that link. So go ahead, Leslie.
have to excuse me here. My my voice is a little rough today. You know, when I first got into health and fitness, really wasn't health and fitness, to be honest, because as a trainer or even in the realm with a degree in exercise science, you really weren't allowed to touch nutrition. You had to basically like, oh no, it's like, no, we're not doing that. You've got to go to a dietitian, but that was then, and things have changed over the last several decades. And, I think we're learning new stuff about, the gut and the roles that it plays and how important it is. And, I think also coaching has gotten exponentially better. I mean, I look back at, when I first got into this realm and the things that I was doing, it's like, holy crap, you were coaching that? But again, it's just, the exercise science side of it has came a very, very, very long way in the past, 2 decades. So, it's amazing how far it became, even from a professional standpoint, because these guys, 30 years ago, your fitness professional was the guy or girl who was the most fit person in the gym, and now you can have people that don't even look the part and be very, very knowledgeable at their craft. So it's pretty impressive, It's an ever-changing realm, and the things we're learning on how we destroy that gut microbiome and be able to fix it to even help with our brain health, stress. These things kill it. Diet, alcohol, stress, anxiety, antibiotics, which is in everything we eat, just about, Well, unless you're really like going out of your way and eating like pasture raised. Yeah. So there's a difference. It's like marketers are brilliant, right? They found a way around like grass fed and grass finished. So you got to be careful what you even, it's like, what are we doing? Like, okay, now I got to look for grass finished beef, not grass fed, because they could literally stick it out to pasture for a month. Now it's grass fed. So you got to look at grass finished and grass fed and pasteurized. And, and that's a lot for people that is, just clients and people that aren't doing what we do. And that's what we're here to do, is help you get through that as health and fitness professionals. And, that's the first step that we take as coaches. We got to limit processed foods for these clients, and we got to get them, let's actively seek out foods that are going to, be good for our gut and help feed, because that's what the gut does, right? It breaks down this, and then it feeds those trillions of microorganisms. We feed those, that breaks down the food that we're eating, and then the nutrients goes as needed. So that's the important role that it takes. And if we destroy that through processed foods, alcohol, antibiotics, so that's what the people don't understand either, is the role fiber takes in that. So I always explain it to my clients as, look at pre and probiotics, right? So your prebiotic is the soil and your probiotic is the seed. So they both work together to create postbiotic. And I think in today's diet, in society, it's almost impossible to do this without supplementation, in my opinion. I mean, because we're always on the go. And especially if you're like me, I have 2 younger kids that are in activities. So we have to take the time prep in order to, keep from having to eat all these foods that destroy our gut microbiome.
I love that, actually. Bringing the prepping thing in is so big. And have you seen, actually recently too, a lot of companies have popped up over like optimizing your gut health based upon your DNA. So like DNA testing to optimize like your pre and probiotic to get everything.
Yeah, I actually did that because I had all kinds of gut issues. That's what really prompted. And I was going to the doctor, couldn't figure out like, why am I always in pain? Come to find out, at the end of the day, I was lactose intolerant. Something so simple that, you know what I mean? But again, yeah, so I did the DNA thing, and it come back to that I should be eating a low-fat diet. So it's like, it did it all. So it's like, here I am eating a high-fat diet, eating dairy, And believe it or not, I cut dairy and cut my fats, and guess what? Pain goes away. Can you imagine that? Yeah. And through the years, I've tried to reintroduce dairy into my diet unsuccessfully. So, unfortunately, but, because it does make things a little bit more challenging on hitting protein intake when you can't have dairy. So, that, and we'll be doing short little videos if we spoke about that allows us to kind of to help with that. So be on the lookout for those. And where I stand. I don't think any of us are meant to eat dairy. So that's my opinion. I think it's more tolerated by people, and I think people are lactose intolerant that don't even realize it and have poor gut health.
Well, and like for a lot of those people too that like don't understand the argument of that for the dairy side, it definitely affects your microbiome. And I've honestly kind of gone through similar things as you. I'm not completely like as crazy intolerant. Like if I have some, I'm okay. But if you start noticing like, flatulence or like issues in the bathroom like that shouldn't be happening on a daily basis. Like for the population that, let's make that very clear for listeners here. If that's happening, it's probably due to dairy. That's one simple fix. Yeah.
And in my field too, the supplement industry pushes whey protein. And I took it. I think, just the amount of dairy consumption that I did over the years probably just pushed me overboard. You know what I mean? It's probably one of those things. We were taking in 60 grams of, protein all whey, or, and some of it, just face it, as a poor personal trainer, it was probably the cheapest damn protein I could get on the market, So now that I'm older and I'm established, I could hunt out some really good proteins.
Awesome. I know that a lot of times, or a lot of practitioners, I've heard the term of your gut being your first brain. Now that can be debatable. Some people will say first or second brain, but I think that kind of goes hand in hand, and why it is so important, because it's going to basically affect absorption rates. And if you can absorb a lot more things that are good for you, it's going to be a lot healthier for you. So are there any other recent breakthroughs for getting your gut to be the pinnacle of health? Like what would be a couple items that somebody could do? And the biggest takeaway for a listener to actually improve that?
The biggest thing is that there's certain things that we have to change in our diet. We really have to get rid of processed foods. Unfortunately, it takes the fiber out, and fiber is so essential for you to develop the good bacteria in your system and absorb your vitamins and your nutrients. But also a lot of the additives and preservatives, even diet type foods, using aspartame is very harmful to you. MSG is extremely harmful to your gut, but it's also very harmful to your brain and increases Alzheimer's. So our diet needs to be seriously redone. We have too much omega-6, which is in saturated fats, and not enough omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory. So we need to do some major changes. And I think some of the biggest changes is that it's important that we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And trying to get organic would be preferred because you're avoiding the pesticides that are on there, maybe even the heavy metals that we get exposed to. And then we want high fiber carbohydrates, ones that have a lot of fiber. Sometimes you don't think about peanut butter, but there's a lot of fiber in there. It's a very healthy food. Try to use more lean animal protein sources. Sometimes they say plant source proteins, but I'm a little leery on some of that because they try to put all these chemicals to make it taste like meat. So I don't know if that's really a great option. But if you're eating like tofu, soy products, things like that, where you're getting more protein in that form, might be a better option. And then, as I already mentioned, increasing your omega-3, cutting out the saturated fats, reduce your sugar, and avoid the alcohol or limit it as much as you can. Those are kind of the basic things that you can do that can help keep your microbiome healthier. The problem is that once you have a lot of bad bacteria present and a lot of fungi and yeast and these spirochete type bacteria, sometimes you need to get those out of your system for you to actually start feeling better. But before you feel better, sometimes you're going to feel worse.
That
Now,
makes sense.
yeah, to you and me, it makes sense. But a lot of people say, why am I doing all this and I feel worse? I used to have it when I saw people that smoke cigarettes. It's now you need to stop smoking. And they said, well, I stopped for a week and now I'm coughing up all this junk. And I said, yeah, it's because you had all this stuff down there that needs to get out. Well, I never coughed like this when I smoked, so I'm going to go back smoking. They don't realize that they were clearing the stuff out that was there for years. So yours going to be a process. And so the biggest thing is that you need to go slow when you start treating yourself. These dietary and all those things, you can do those automatically. But if you're going to try to actually start treating your problem to try to eliminate these bad products, then you're going to have to realize that if you go too quickly, you're going to get this thing that's called Herxheimer reaction. And that's where you can start getting the fevers and the chills and the body aches and the soreness and the nausea, the vomiting, the bloating, and just feel miserable, fatigue and tiredness. And typically, that Herxheimer reaction was initially seen when you were being treating syphilis or things like that, which is a spirochete bacteria. And they said, oh, it only lasts for 24 hours. Well, unfortunately, when we're dealing with gut biome, it lasts a lot longer, especially since these toxins are centered into our belly fat. So when we start killing off the fungi and these different types of bacteria, they release something that's called endotoxin, which is from the cell walls of these structures. And these endotoxins cause a lot of inflammation in your body. And that's where you start having these bad reactions. It also starts changing your sodium and potassium, starts increasing in your body, and your sodium levels will tend to make you feel like it's low, but actually it's not. You get weakness and tiredness and feel kind of fainty feeling. And so, you just kind of feel a little miserable. Or if you're starting to feel that, you need to slow your process. Some of the detox treatments out there, there's a lot of different kinds out. I don't think we were in this discussion to go into all those different type of treatments, but they always say go slow and you'll get better, and you're not going to have one giant step forward and 6 steps back because you're feeling poorly.
So I would kind of equate that to, and the reason why I was saying that it makes sense to me, if you look at other problems that people have, let's just say, right? So let's just say, well, one of the fields that you're very well versed in is addiction as well, right? I've had my past bout with that in college, so I'm very well versed as well. But it's the same type of deal. You stop something, you're going to feel like, pardon the French, shit for a period of time. You're not going to just feel great, but that's the time that your body is healing. So it takes that time. So just like the smoking example, same if you were an alcoholic, if you stop drinking, you're not going to feel the best for a period of time, right? But that's your body healing. Same if you get in a car wreck or you get hurt, that rehab process is your body healing itself. You're pushing your body, but if you go too far, you're going to cause stress fractures or some other injury that's going to set you back further, which goes with exactly what you just said. So I think it's very important to know that you know your own body best. You're going to know if you're really trying to push something a little too much and you're having some of these issues, then you know to kind of slow down. So like to just go see a doctor to say, okay, does it check this box, this box? Okay, you're going too fast or not too fast. It's kind of a give or take for every person. Is that not right? Because every person is a little bit different.
Oh, definitely. And I think the biggest problem that we encounter is that there's a lot of physicians that are not trained in the gut biome, and nor are they trained on the reactions you get when you're trying to correct it. I mean, one of the things that commonly is used is, especially if you're wanting it for weight loss, is the bacteria called Lactobacillus, and it's gasseri, Gasseri. And that bacteria really helps improve weight loss because it's a very healthy one. It starts helping you metabolize things better. But again, you got to start slow. Okay, maybe take one every third day, or every fourth day, and then slowly increase it to every third, every two, and then maybe every day. And then you might do it twice a day as you're trying to get a normal fiber, high fiber diet going on and getting the right bacteria present. Because the fiber will support the good bacteria. The problem with taking an antibiotic is, yes, it kills off the bad, but it kills off the good too. And if you don't have something good to replace it, unfortunately, you're going to be in a worse spot than you were before. So antibiotics is not the answer to treating this problem. It is truly important to realize that it is mainly dietary changes and getting the right types of bacteria back into your system. We do have some also heavy metal detox that they use sometimes. It's called zeolite, and then also using purified silver in nanoform of it. That actually kills bad bacteria, but it's not harmful to good. So, it just has a lot of good things. Sometimes using coffee enemas will help with your Herxheimer reactions that you're having. But I think if you go slow, you may not even have to go that route. But it does have a way of kind of removing a lot of those endotoxins that your body's trying to process and stuff. But as your fat deposit starts declining, the toxins are going to be released. And so you might have these little mini type reactions as you're going through it. You might be good for a while, and you're wondering, why am I feeling bad again? And it's just because you're starting to mobilize those toxins that have been stored in your body cell fats.
Now, I know another aspect of this too is being active as well, because that always helps circulation, right? And then another aspect too, that from my research is your cortisol levels. So making sure that, there are mindfulness practices that are being done here to make sure that you don't have crazy cortisol spikes throughout the day, because then your body's in stress and now you're not going to absorb anything anyways, like you normally could, because you're in a heightened state. So there are things that are also important that people can do kind of outside of just that, which we know the detoxes and all of that are going to be the most crucial, but there are other ancillary things that you can do to support yourself to maximize the benefits while you're going through these processes.
Yeah, and certainly drinking plenty of water. I mean, water is a great flush to help clear these things out of your system, because what's happening is your spleen, your liver, and your kidneys are under stress. I haven't seen anybody stating using glutathione as a treatment, but it is a very powerful antioxidant. So it's really going to help reduce that inflammatory response. It also will help the liver in its stress, because the liver produces glutathione to help you get rid of toxins out of your system. So I think adding that as a supplement will also, I feel, would be beneficial. I haven't really seen specific studies saying to use that, but it's just that is our natural way of clearing things. And if you're under excessive stress of clearing stuff out, I think that would be highly beneficial. And I don't think there's really not any harm to it, because it's something our body naturally makes, So, and then because it's an antioxidant, if you have a lot of inflammation in your intestinal tract, it's going to help with that type of inflammation also that's going on in the system.
Well, let's kind of steer the conversation into that connection between the gut and your brain, and why that's so important, and why listeners should want to optimize that.
If you think about that being your second brain, we'll just, call our gut that second brain. The brain needs nutrients, right? So we have to feed that. And if we're not, having a healthy gut, then we can't give our brain the nutrients that it has to have in order to function well. And you can even go out, I wouldn't say go out on a limb, but you could even have the argument to say, hey, is this why, that we have such a high level of depression? Is that one of the causes of why we have the answer of pushing, what are those antidepressants?
SNRIs. Yeah, all of them.
Yeah. So that's the answer. And that's what I love about what we do. And we want to go to the root cause, right? We don't want to say, oh, well, and your mom's a great case of that. She wants to fix the problem. Let's fix the underlying issue here And who's to say that gut isn't the problem when it comes to the depression?
Basically, the microbiome truly influences your mood as well, like throughout the day. Because if you're altering how you're absorbing nutrients, that's going to fire somewhere else in your body a way to either like release serotonin, dopamine, or any of your neurotransmitters, which inherently are directly linked to mood. And not just mood, but that inherently also means that's mental health as a whole. So that connection of having optimized mental health in today's world is huge. So if one of the easiest ways is to first optimize your microbiome to then optimize your mental health, well, that's a pretty easy connection there that I think a lot of people should realize and understand. When maybe you have like random, or throughout the day when you eat, if you have a random like turn in emotion or emotional state where it just goes negative all of a sudden, well, it might be linked to something that you ate, or it might be linked to how your microbiome is processing something that you ate, right? So if your microbiome isn't optimized, there can be an issue there as well, obviously, but it's both the input and how you use the input for how that's going to optimize your body. And not just the microbiome from the sense of, oh, I want the nutrients, but truly a holistic, systematic approach of, okay, this is truly going to affect every aspect of your life, which is a pretty important part.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to fluctuate throughout the day, and then, you're always go back to that alcohol consumption and for good reason. I mean, everybody's drinking alcohol, and that's one of the reasons why those and antibiotics, I think, are the two main causes of what we've kind of done to destroy that gut microbiome. But we could go over some stuff here to try and like, okay, what do I do to fix the problem? Yeah, so it's like, Leslie, you keep telling me that I need to do this, but I think we talked about this before. At least I mentioned it to you, where they're doing, they took this healthy, athletic male, and they did a fecal transplant from that athletic male into an obese female, and without changing anything else, she dropped a considerable amount of weight just by doing that. So, I mean, those are extreme things, but it is kind of there to show you like how important that is. For me, that's what stood out. Not the actual like, well, that's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? But still, you go, oh, wow. So that's how important your gut microbiome is. If we can literally change that through a transplant and have success without changing any other factors, then just change those factors, right? So it's like, but we want instant gratification, and it doesn't happen like that, right? Nothing happens like that. Like, it's time dependent. Weight gain is time dependent. If you're an athlete, you want to gain muscle mass, we still need good, healthy gut microbiome, and we need time. It's time dependent. Same as like weight loss.
Yeah, at least to still be healthy. And let's make it a big thing here. So for the rapid weight loss, the big issues that you get into, everyone wants to lose that weight fast. Like, let's make sure this is very clear for people. When you lose the weight too quickly, you end up putting your body into starvation mode, right? And then it increases that cortisol level, which means you're under that fight or flight response, which inherently drives adrenaline as well. Those mechanisms all work together, and you're going to end up feeling so tired, and literally you're not going to have the nutrients to fight off any colds or simple things that your body just fights on a daily basis that you have no idea about because you don't need to. Your body just takes care of it, right? All of these little things will start to pile up, and you're going to, like, literally every person I've seen do these crazy fast weight losses, they either end up in the hospital or they end up severely sick, and then they gain it back plus some. Yeah. So it's a yo-yo. So we just said a lot to our listeners here, right? And we threw a lot at them, threw a bunch against the wall here. Let's kind of just trim this down for them a little bit so that they can have some actionable items for when they are done listening to this podcast, so they can actually implement things into their life. Let's just say the top three, or if there's a fourth crucial item to add to that, obviously we can. But what would you say out of everything that you just said would be the top three that people can take home?
Well, I do think that taking a probiotic, the Lactobacillus gaseus, it's probably the best one if you're trying to lose weight. Drinking plenty of fluids, and then your diet, low saturated fat, increase omega-3, no sugars, alcohol, and eating lots of fiber.
I'd say lifestyle choices for gut health would be regular exercise, right? Stress management. So, I made a note here where exercise has been shown to positively influence the gut microbiome. That's amazing, right? And then chronic stress disrupts gut function. I mean, if we're always stressed, right, there's always a solution. Let's find it, right? So everything happens to everybody. But when we start, I think, pushing those solutions down the road, they start to mount and weigh heavy, heavy, heavy. And I think that's where that chronic stress really, because we don't want to deal with things. So if you don't deal with something that comes down the road, and if you push it down, that other things start to pile up on top of that. And sleep quality. We haven't talked about that. So, man, sleep is, I don't know that I could put in words how important good quality sleep is. For whatever you want to do, whether it's losing weight, whether it's gaining muscle mass as an athlete, whatever that is, whether it's mental health, everything is sleep.
Well, thank you for all of your knowledge on this topic. It's always amazing to cover some of these topics with you and very eye-opening. We're going to be looking forward to the next episode releasing next month. And then I know that Dr. Saddoris and I were talking about doing some kind of breakout sessions with you guys for other things as we kind of transition into more of a whole body wellness more instead of just the Western medicine practices. We want to bring you guys the melding of the Eastern and Western so that you can truly heal your body as a system. So I know we talked about getting into like some meditations that we're going to do together and some other things that we can help you guys with to lower those cortisol levels and to try to keep you guys performing at your peak or flow state at all times. Thank you guys for listening to Activate Your Best Health on this gut microbiome session. And we're looking forward to continue to provide the absolute best information for elevating your wellness.
So you just listened to this episode. Now, join us in being addicted to betterment. Please subscribe to the show, share with your friends, tag us, and please take a moment, leave a review. Yeah, we do want your stars, but we really want the feedback.